It's a shithole and I don't like it.
This is my country, it's the best country in the world.
The government sucks, the weather's awful, job market's terrible, we get paid terribly.
We have the royal family.
We just seem to go around the world making an empire, stealing everybody else's things, thinking we're better than everybody else.
So there's a whole load of countries around the world that kind of fucking hate us.
Brexit's a sticky one.
Not particularly proud of the slavery.
We are two Brits living in the USA, and we've noticed how patriotic the Americans are. We thought it would be interesting to consider whether we Brits are as patriotic as that. So we have decided to have a look at a video by YouTuber Joe. He goes out and about on the streets of Britain, speaks to British people and asks them, are you proud or ashamed to be British?
The history of Britain is a tapestry woven with conquests, revolutions and cultural evolution. The Magna Carta of 1215, a cornerstone of modern democracy, was born on British soil. The Industrial Revolution transformed the world with steam power sparking a global shift. British literature from Shakespeare to Dickens has captivated minds worldwide. Scientific advancements such as the discovery of gravity by Isaac Newton and the theory of evolution by Charles Darwin reshaped our understanding of the universe. We've also done some questionable things, but today seems to be a far cry from the Britain of old, with a new generation of Brits coming through. So we posed a very simple question to the public. Are you proud to be British?
I think there's going to be people who feel very strongly one way or the other, as well as people who maybe feel mixed about this.
Yeah, exactly. Some things they're proud of, some things they're not. And I wonder whether it's different between different generations. So I'll tell you things I'm proud of to be British. I have a feeling I'm prouder than you are. I'm a different generation. I'm very proud of a lot of the wonderful people who've lived. Shakespeare, Darwin, people who invented things, people who did good works.
I think for some of us that feels like quite far away from us and from our own experiences, and maybe just because something happened in the same geographical borders, it's hard to relate to. Me personally, I feel more proud to think of myself as a person from Norfolk. I think I say that not to be an isolationist and think this is the best place ever. I don't think that, but I see the contributions of my ancestors and people who have influenced me all around. And I feel very connected to that history, more so than perhaps some of these high and lofty figures that we often lift up as great examples of Britishness or Englishness.
Are you proud to be British?
Oh God, no. Oh, good God, no. No, I fucking hate England. This place sucks. The majority of people that I've met in England that are English, no, not all of them, obviously, you can't speak for everyone ever, but there's a good proportion of them that are just horrible people. The government sucks, the weather's awful, the job market's terrible, we get paid terribly. I mean, obviously the NHS now was really good, and now it's not being funded nearly enough, but when can it ever be funded enough? I don't know. No, I'm not particularly proud to be British. And we've got awful stereotypes for the rest of the world. I mean, we're the most obnoxious twats when it comes to holidays, and it's just horrible. We refuse to learn other people's languages, and it's disgusting. No, I'd rather be French.
For anyone who doesn't maybe live in the UK or France, it might just be worth explaining that there's a huge rivalry between the French and the English in particular, maybe Britain as a whole. Yeah. Probably because they're so close geographically and there's this shared history that goes back a long way. So for him to say, I'd rather be French, is going to hit a lot of English people quite hard.
I think a lot of English people are not going to say that.
I relate to a lot of what he's saying. I think I felt a lot of that when I lived in the UK. And I don't think he's necessarily incorrect about anything that he's saying. I think just now looking at the UK from the outside, there seems to be such a huge sense of futility amongst the British public, which makes me really sad.
And I just wish that they would get somebody in government who would inspire them to be more positive and to be more optimistic and to actually go out there and get some good stuff done. I can understand because, you know, series of governments have been a huge disappointment. Yeah. The Brexit thing was a disaster, I think, in the main, and caused a lot of diverse feelings. Lots of immigration, which people in many countries are concerned about. All this leads to people feeling much more negative. But why are the Americans not feeling so negative? There's something else, isn't there?
There is something else, yeah. It's almost like Americans, if they don't like something, they change it. They're much more adaptable and much more willing to give new ideas a go. And I think that serves them well in times like this. Not saying everything's perfect in America. It's really not.
I think when you live in another country, whatever country it is, you do notice that the grass is not always greener on the other side. Like in this country, there's so many homeless, there's a lot of people who are very poor, obviously the gun crime. Sometimes people say that Americans are blindly patriotic. I've heard that said. If you're just blindly patriotic, you just think everything is great about your country and you don't seek to change it. Whereas you're patriotic, but actually there are things we should change and could change. That is a better way to be patriotic.
Yeah, like the idea of patriotism, as I mentioned when I lived in the UK, I will be honest and say that I didn't feel patriotic at all. I completely relate to how this guy is feeling. And it actually took me moving to America, where they have an incredibly positive perspective on the UK, probably excessively so. But they'll say, oh, that's really great. You do that really well. This is really awesome. Awesome. And it's like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it isn't bad, is it, you think?
It's not all terrible.
No.
There's things actually about the UK that a lot of Americans are envious of. And don't get me wrong, I think there really is something to be said about having a good old moan sometimes. I think it can be really cathartic, but it has to be with the purpose of, and how do we move forward? I think that's where we kind of get stuck sometimes.
I think we get so despondent, that's the thing, and it is hard to make change, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes a tremendous amount of effort.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it can feel like, oh God, it's just not worth the energy. But I think this is where I do feel patriotic, even though I don't necessarily feel proud right now. I do love my country and I do want the best for it. And I do think it is worth the effort so that future generations maybe don't have to feel so ashamed.
Sometimes I'm proud to be British and sometimes I'm not.
Of course I am.
Why is that?
Because I was born here. This is my country. It's the best country in the world.
I would say it's because we're a fantastic country, but we're better than a lot of other countries, and I feel proud that of some of the things that we've done. Not everything, like some of the stuff you see in Manchester and Liverpool. We're not particularly proud of the slavery and the stuff that's gone on, but there is stuff to be proud of.
I think one thing you hear a lot is, well, at least we're better than other countries. And I think someone said it in that little sequence there. And it's true, there's a lot to be grateful for.
The human rights, for example, our workers' rights. We might not get paid as much as the Americans on average, but we've got far more rights regarding security of employment, maternity, paternity leave, holiday leave. Sick leave. These things are taken for granted sometimes in the UK. They don't all just happen over here,
A major YouGov study in 2018, which surveyed more than 20,000 English adults, revealed that young people in England are much less likely to be proud of their Englishness than their elder peers. Nearly 3/4 of people aged 65 and over who identify as English are proud of that identity. With 18 to 24-year-olds, that falls to just 45%. In fact, close to 1 in 10 young people this age say that they are actively embarrassed by their English identity, while a further 34% say they are neither proud nor embarrassed.
So this Englishness versus Britishness. A lot of people I've heard complain, like when you fill in a form, I'm English, not British. Actually, legally you're British. You are from England, but you're also part of Britain.
I don't find particular term more true than the other. I suppose one just describes my heritage as an English person and the other describes my nationality as a British person.
Yeah, well said. I think that we've had negative connotations with waving the English flag. It has been associated with the far right. Although, of course, we can feel proud to fly the English flag when we're watching, say, the English football team.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's even among people who would say that they feel patriotic, I get the impression that there's a confusion as to how they can express it. In America, obviously, there's these huge gestures of patriotism and flying the flag, singing the national anthem at every single sporting event and at other places too. In schools, they always say the Pledge of Allegiance. People have bumper stickers on their cars and things like that expressing their patriotism. It's all around. And the trouble is, I think in the UK, these gestures would be associated with the far right and perhaps connotations that people might be comfortable with, but a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable with because that doesn't feel true to them. And so there's this kind of, how do I express my patriotism. Can I express my patriotism? Should I express my patriotism? Or am I going to be cut down for doing that because people then assume other things about me that might not be true?
So what would you say to kind of maybe younger people that feel less patriotic?
I think they're stupid.
Because I know older generations don't, and people in my own family would be like, England, and it's just like, no, not really, but okay, and they just won't admit any fault, whereas now I think we're more open to admitting that.
It is a bit weird if you're a bit of a patriot, like a proper patriot.
Well, it's a personal thing, isn't it? It's up to everybody else. My grandchildren, they know what I think, because Grandad's got a gob.
I think it's okay to love your own country. I think sometimes those people are vilified unnecessarily, but I think it depends what you're proud of.
Yeah, I can see they've grown up in a world with a pandemic, politicians not towing the line, parties and things like that, so there's no integrity there. So yeah, I don't see there's a great deal to be proud of, really.
Yeah, I think it's important for a country to have a society that takes pride in belonging to it.
Well, maybe they should vote for a party that's going to make us proud to be British. You know, the country's kind of in the shitter, and it's kind of their fault.
Well, no, they've actually got something to be proud of, because, you know, they had a decent economy. They had, you know, the NHS was great for them. They won a war.
I don't know, look at history, I guess. I know you lived it, but also maybe you didn't pay attention to it while you're there.
I mean, there's obviously a divide, isn't there?
There is a big divide.
I do agree with the one guy who said that people who are patriotic and would describe themselves as patriots are sometimes vilified, and I think sometimes patriotism is seen as the kind of early stages of nationalism, the kind of infant stages of that.
Yeah, the extremist sort of point of view.
Yeah, and I can see how people might be afraid that one leads on to the other. I do think patriotism is a little bit different though. I do think patriotism can be a really positive force when it's used to improve things for the country and improve things for the people.
That was interesting, one guy said it depends what you are proud of, you know, what the things are that you are proud of. What makes me feel really emotional is when I see remembrance service of people who have fought, not just in the 2 world wars, but in recent conflicts, and who have fought for their country and for us so that we can be safe. I think that is part of it as well, being proud in the people of Britain who have done amazing things so that we have the lifestyles that we have today.
There's a horrible, bloody political history behind it, just, you know, all the torture and just everything about it, you know, and our accents can be annoying.
Oh, come to America, love, they'll love you.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of having a British Empire from the point of view of controlling other people, and certainly not from the point of view of being involved in slavery. But having said that, American peoples were involved in slavery too, and on the whole, I think Americans are still proud of who they are.
I personally feel a great weight when I think about those things and think of that as part of my heritage. But actually, I don't necessarily think feeling ashamed of that is a bad thing. I would much rather that shame is kept alive in the hope that it goes some way towards ensuring something like that never happens again in the future.
You may think that national pride is a waning matter for all people as the modern world moves on, but that isn't the case across the pond with the US of A. A study found that a massive 92% of Americans are either very proud or proud to be American. A measly 4% of Yanks had no pride at all for their great nation, and this is presumably because they hate freedom. So how do the Americans that we spoke to feel about their nation?
I am so grateful and I'm so honored to be born in this amazing country.
Are you proud to be American?
Yeah, absolutely. Today you fight for your independence wherever you're coming from, your country coming from, and this is the soil that I was created and a big fan of.
Of course.
Why?
Because, man, this is the best country in the world, man.
Absolutely. And we got a lot of freedoms, we got a lot of rights, we got a lot of opportunities here as well.
My husband just joined the military and it really brought a whole new appreciation to being American. Freedom is not free, and it is a privilege to be free.
I'm proud to be an American.
Why?
Man, look, this beautiful country, USA, it doesn't get any better, man.
It's just how I've always been proud to be an American. I'm born and raised here. I'm not that different. I know everyone has troubles, but I'm kind of proud to be American.
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm actually planning an exit strategy to not live in America anymore. I appreciate America for the opportunities and like being born and raised here, but overall, am I proud to be American? No.
Any reason in particular?
Taxes are a bitch.
I'm so glad he did a contrast with America, because it really highlights the different attitudes. And I think probably that section is going to get a lot of eye rolling from British people. I think that's what they would describe as blind patriotism, or maybe the feeling that it might be a bit ignorant. But I think that attitude is one of the big reasons why I like living here, because every day you're just reminded by the people around you that there are things to be grateful for, that there are things to be positive about. And whilst it might not be perfect, I think a lot of Americans are aware that there are things that could be improved. We do have a lot of opportunities, freedoms, and rights that other people in other countries aren't given.
I just think that, you know, the two countries, if they weren't as good as they were, why do so many people from other countries want to live there?
True.
Whichever side of the pond you're from, or if you're from a different country, please let us know your thoughts. Are you a patriot? Are you proud to be from your country? And if not, why not?
Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, we'd love it if you gave us a big thumbs up and maybe hit that subscribe button to see more of our videos on YouTube.